Okay, this is 8th grade, Unit 1, Lesson 2, Naming Moves. And our focus question today, what is a translation, rotation, and reflection? You can see we got a lot of new vocabulary. Translation, rotation, reflection, corresponding, image, center of rotation. So let's go ahead and start this warm-up. It says quadrilateral A can be rotated into position of quadrilateral B. Estimate the angle of rotation. So we talked about turns in Lesson 1, and that's what a rotation is, a turn. So if you need to pause it here to start your notes, go ahead and do that. And then you're ready to continue. Unpause the video. Okay, so let's talk about that warm-up. So it says quadrilateral A can be rotated into the position of quadrilateral B. So if we take this quadrilateral A and we trace it, it can be rotated onto quadrilateral B. So one thing we want to note is that it's rotating around a specific point. It's rotating around this point right here. And that point has a specific name. It's called the center of rotation. So that point, that red dot, is the center of rotation. That's the point that it's rotating around. And is it rotating clockwise or counterclockwise? Well, we could rotate it around this way, all the way around, or we could rotate it around this way. I could also turn it all the way around like that, and that's rotating clockwise. Or I could rotate it this way, and that's rotating counterclockwise. So we have two directions, clockwise, which turns around this way, and we have counterclockwise, which turns around that way. So let's talk about this word also, image. Okay, so we have this figure B, and we call that the image of figure A. So figure A is the original, and figure B we say is the image of figure A. So we could say that the image is a copy of the original. So there's a lot of vocabulary here we need to understand so we can communicate with each other, so we're all on the same page. But let's talk about the other question that was in the warm-up. It says estimate the angle of rotation. It says estimate the angle of rotation. So if we look at this first line here, after it rotates and lands exactly on top of this line, where is this line on the image? That line on the image would be right there. So we say this side here corresponds to this side here. We could also say that this point here corresponds with this point here. And this point here corresponds with this point here. This side here corresponds with this side here. So that word corresponding is important also because that is going to help us find our angle of rotation. So let's just look at these blue corresponding sides. After we rotate figure A on the center of rotation a certain amount, it ends up on B, right? So to figure our angle of rotation, we need to figure out how far does this line, how far does this side turn to get to that side? What is that angle? Remember, 360 degrees is a full circle, right? 360 degrees is a full circle, but we just want this part. How far does it go right there? So let's find that out with the protractor. So I'm going to put my protractor, I'm going to put my little target on the center of rotation, and we can see that this line lines up with 0. Okay, so if I look at this original line, this blue line, it's at 0. And now I'm going to go all the way over and look at all these points until I get to right there. And we can see, once I move my ink out of the way, this is at 120 degrees. So this rotated 120 degrees counterclockwise, right? It went this way, counterclockwise, 120 degrees, about this point, around this point right here, the center of rotation. Okay, so let's look at this set of moves. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 moves in 6 different pictures because we have the original starting point. Describe each move or say it's a new move. So a move would be our moves that we know so far are rotations, which are turns, and we have moves that slide, right? Those are the ones we've talked about yesterday, or in lesson 1. Turns and slides. So my original, I'm just going to trace it real quick. To get from card number 1 to card number 2, that slides, right? It just slides to the right. And then from card number 2 to card number 3, well, it doesn't slide. Let's see if we can turn it. We can turn it. I'm just going to put it over there and turn it. That way. No. 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 So that one doesn't turn or slide. That does something else. So we're going to say that is a new move. That is our new move. So from here to here, it slides. From here to here is a new move. And that new move is called a reflection. So if I go back to my original, and I flip it, then it lines up, right? So it reflects. So right here, from here, whoa, that's thick. I don't want that big. All right. If I draw a straight line down here and I reflect this over, it reflects over this line here. So this is called our line of reflection. Now, to get from here down to here, looks like it turns, right? Turns about 90 degrees. Then we have another slide right here. And then over here, we can't make it line up at all again. So that must be another reflection. It flips back over again. And from here to here, what is happening? Right? There must be a combination of moves going on here. Maybe it slides over here first. Maybe it slides over and then reflects over that line there. Might reflect over there. Okay, for the next activity it says sort the cards into categories according to the type of move they show. Be prepared to describe each category and why it is different than the others. So the types of moves we know so far are slides, turns, and reflections. So those are the categories we're going to sort. So let's take a look at this first card. This first card, we're going from this green original shape and we're sliding up to here, so it's going to be a slide. This one, is it reflecting or turning? looks like, I'm just going to trace it real quick just to make sure. I'm going to turn it. Yeah, it's a turn, and it's going around this point right here. So it's turning around that center of rotation. That center of rotation is the center point that does not move. So that is a turn. So this one, we got a mirror image. We got a mirror image with a line of reflection right here. So that's a reflection. This one, starting with the green, is just sliding straight up. So that's a slide. This one, we have another reflection with a line of reflection. Line of reflection right here. So that's a reflection. This one looks like it's turning counterclockwise with the center of rotation right here at this point. This one, that looks like a mirror image too. Right there would be our line of reflection. So that's a reflection. So this one, that looks kind of tricky. Let's see, if I put a line of reflection right there, yep, it's reflecting over that line. This one is rotating clockwise, it looks like, about 90 degrees. So that's turning. We have a slide. We have another slide. And then, what is this one doing? It's not sliding. That looks like it might be a combination of things. I'm going to trace it. Let's see here. So if I take this and I rotate it around a point, I'll rotate it around that point right there. So I rotated it and then slid it. I can't, which category do I put it into? I'm going to leave that one off its own category for a minute. Alright, so let's talk about some of the categories we made. We have reflections, rotations, and sliding, which is called a translation. And a translation slides a figure without turning it. So this card, and this card are, just this card is a translation, right? Because we're just sliding without turning. So we start at figure B, we slide to figure, or start at figure A, and we slide to figure B. A rotation turns a figure about a point called the center of rotation. So if we look at this one, card number 2, we have a center of rotation right here that does not move, and it turns around that to land right on top, or this way. If we take the green figure and we rotate it this way till it lands on top of the red figure. So if we trace this and then rotate it, so that that point stays in the same spot right there. So it rotates around a specific point. So a rotation turns it clockwise or counterclockwise around a specific point that does not move. And a reflection reflects a figure. It has a mirror image. It creates a mirror image of a figure, and that mirror image always has a line of reflection. So this right here would be our line of reflection that this shape reflects over. Okay. There's another example. Okay, let's take some notes. So we have a translation. A figure moves by sliding, right? We can slide this figure so that the corresponding points, so that the corresponding points line up. A rotation turns a figure about a point, and that point is called the center of rotation. It can turn clockwise or counterclockwise, and the distance it turns is measured in degrees. And we can see in this one, this is our center of rotation, and it's turning from here to here 90 degrees. So we could say that this shape turns clockwise 90 degrees about this point, the center of rotation. And a reflection creates a mirror image over a line of reflection. And the corresponding points, this point and this point, those are corresponding points, right? Those are always the same distance from the line of reflection. So if we measured this point to the line of reflection and this point to the line of reflection, these distances would be the same. These distances here are the same. Since this point here corresponds with this point here, this distance and this distance would be the same, and same for this third vertex.